Hey, g'day guys, it's Adam from VideoShowMeHow, and in this video it's going to be a little bit different to the regular how-to type videos. This one is all about the big news to do with the Jeep as part of the VideoShowMeHow garage. So today is both a super sad day, but then also a pretty happy one at the same time. The sad news for me is the fact that the Jeep as part of the VideoShowMeHow garage is for sale, and this video is a bit of a dual purpose video because it is going to be doing the full walkthrough of the Jeep. There's been quite a few DMs and what have you on the channel asking for exactly that, so I'm finally getting that together. And the second purpose of the video is basically the details for the sale listing for the Jeep. So if you're here for the walk around, enjoy. Sorry it's taken so long to put this together. I kind of had a few bits and bobs that were still being worked on the Jeep, so I really wanted to make sure that when I did this that it had sort of the build as complete as what I was going to do with the rig. And if you're here for the sale and you're really after all the details of the rig, it's going to be a full walkthrough, so you'll get all the detail. Check down below as well in the description of the video, because I'm going to put all the bits and bobs that I talk about rather than a big item list on some sort of a sale ad. I'm just going to chuck everything in the description so you can see all the parts that were used for this build. So like I said, this is quite a sad day. I have had this rig for about 7 years, and it has been an absolute toy for me, and it's what started the YouTube channel for me, really, is doing how-tos on exactly this rig and putting together some details. As I was learning, I'd sort of put together a video to sort of help other people as well if they were working through the same sort of mods to their Jeeps. So very sentimental, this rig, and spent a lot of time, a lot of time on it. For me personally, sort of learning how to do some of this stuff, but then also with the filming and the YouTube and all of that sort of thing. So it has been a pretty big journey for me, and I really do thank every one of you guys that have been watching the channel, because it has sort of given me the opportunity to move on from the Jeep onto a new project that is coming soon, and I really do, from the bottom of my heart, really say thank you to all the subscribers of the channel and everyone that's, you know, taken the time to leave a comment and a like and that sort of stuff. You know, I am trying to do this in a really genuine way. I'm not in this for, you know, YouTube fandom or anything like that, hence why I'm not in any of these videos. The blue glove thing is kind of stuck, and that's about the only thing of me that's in the videos. The rest of it for me, it genuinely is trying to, you know, share what I know, what I've learned with the how-to stuff, so that anyone else tackling the same sort of stuff has a bit of a guide through the same sorts of projects. So all of your support has helped the channel grow over time and has essentially given me now the opportunity to participate in a new project that you're going to be hearing a lot more of coming very soon to the channel. So, you know, if you haven't hit the old subscribe button and all the rest, you know the drill. Turn the notifications on so you can see the details of that when it does come out. But unfortunately, I only have so much room in the shed, so this guy here is going to have to go on to greener pastures. I feel like it's at a good time as well, because as far as I'm concerned for the build, you know, it really was a toy for me, and it is pretty well maxed out for everything that I was going to do. I'm really happy with how everything's sitting, with everything that I wanted to do to this has been done. You know, it was never going to be an insane rock crawler. It really was more of a tourer or an overlander type setup, and something that would kind of do everything without getting too extreme in anything in particular. So, you know, you could daily it. You know, it is something you can definitely hit the trails with and have a good time, but then also something you could do some longer distance traveling and that sort of stuff and still be pretty comfy, super reliable with the turbo diesel, all of that sort of stuff. So pre-warning guys, this one may be a little bit longer, and I apologize up front if you're after just a short and sharp version. What I have done though is down in the description, I have broken each of the components down into chapters. So we're going to go around, so if you only want to look at specific parts, check out the chapters. It will skip you straight forward through the video to where you want to be. I do want to be really thorough with this for anyone that's interested, but then the other kind of selfish reason though is when I don't have this beast in the driveway or in the garage for me to go for a trip in, this will kind of give me a little video that I can reflect back on and check out the beast that I used to have. So starting at the front of the Jeep, we have a standard snorkel down the side here. This is a Avenger high flow heat extraction hood, all wrapped aligned, as well as the flares, the front grille, etc. This, you can see more detail up the top here. We did a video on Raptor coating and how you can Raptor align your Jeep or your parts or what have you, and this is the exact bonnet that was used in that video. Pretty awesome thing, definitely makes a big difference as far as heat extraction. You can see it when you're sitting there in the traffic lights and the heat kind of pouring out of the bonnet, so definitely great. We also then have an aftermarket grille. This is from JK Warehouse, same as this here. I really wanted something that would retain the 7 slots. You know, Jeep really need to retain that as far as I'm concerned, and I really didn't like the Angry Bird either. It's sort of a love-hate relationship in the Jeep community, but I really wanted to keep the full sort of round lights. I think that's pretty iconic for Jeep, so found this one, and JK Warehouse hooked me up with that as well, fully wrapped aligned. It is a mesh style as well, so lots of airflow going in and then being sucked straight out the top, so overheating, no issue at all with this thing. Even up the beach in low range, sort of sand, towing, it's great. Front bar, we have a Smitty built. This is relatively new, it's only sort of 4 or 5 months old. This is their new modular unit, and it has the single hoop, which I really wanted the idea of in the state I'm in Queensland. You got to have a full width bar. The good thing about this though is it's fully modular, so each of these wings can be fully removed to turn it into a stubby bar if that's your thing, and it's only these sort of bolts here that those side pods come completely off. So really like the look of it, and it's a press folded type steel, so a fair bit lighter than something like your ARB bars and that sort of stuff, but pretty awesome, still super strong. Now within the bar itself, we've got some bright LED cubes, 2 in either side, LED replacements for the sort of factory that would have came with the ARB style bars, but some nice bright LEDs there. Solid lightweight LED. This is a spread and spot sort of bar, super bright. I just don't see the need, unless you're doing crazy outback stuff, in my opinion anyway, for the standard sort of bush trails and general camping, that sort of stuff. If you get yourself a super awesome light bar like this thing, my street where I live is probably about 800 meters long and on a hill, and if I stop at the top of the hill looking down, which is probably 600 meters, this thing just absolutely floods the area. So for me, this has been perfect, and I haven't really seen the need to some big 9-inch spotties or anything like that. Winch, we have a Dyneema rope equipped Dominator. Just got the sort of the waterproof cover on here. There we go. This thing's only had a few pulls in its life, so still within factory warranty actually, that thing, and I've kept it in, so it's all, you can even see the stickers and stuff. It's all pretty nice, but ready to roll whenever I need it. The last time I needed it actually was to pull my neighbour up his driveway, which was interesting. I've got the solenoid mounted up underneath in a dead space on the winch bar as well, so you just got to plug straight in there if you're using it. There is underneath in the bonnet as well a disconnect for the power, so it's not sucking juice, or no one else can place silly buggers and plug in and start mucking with your winch, but works really well, and I just sort of wanted that nice clean look. This bar as well has some insane recovery points on the front, and there's actually a big winch plate that sits up underneath for the Smitty built, so super strong and nicely shaped as well for a high lift jack. You can pop straight in the side there and jack off there. Underneath, it comes complete with full steel bash plates all the way underneath your radiator, so it's nice and protected. Other than that, for the front, we've got some other cube lights on the side, all hooked up on separate switches inside and wired correctly for Queensland laws. So you've got to have your high beam on for them to activate, so that's all wired correctly. And then for headlights, we have some aftermarkets. This is about my third set. I really wanted to get some that were super bright, but they had a really good cutoff and really nice light, and have settled with these. Very awesome. Have the daylight running lights as well, so when you turn the Jeep on, you've always got that sort of upside down smiley face running, so give you a little bit of extra visibility. And other than that, some aftermarket latches. These are a rugged ridge and are a much more solid attach for the hood. No sort of hood flutter or anything like that. We did do a video on these a little while ago. You can see that in the top corner as well. And that about wraps it up for the front of the Jeep. So around the sides, things of note really is the snorkel. The flares are obviously aftermarket. I had a couple of different versions of flares through the Jeep's life and have sort of settled with these. The tyres and rim combo sat the tyres out about an extra 2 inches, and in the state I'm in of Queensland and Australia, you have to have your tyres covered. You can't have them sort of poking out like you guys in the States. I wish we could do that, but unfortunately no deal. You'll be pulled over quick smart, lickety split. So these were a wild ball flare. My understanding is that company no longer exists, unfortunately. For those of you who've been following the channel for a while, I did have a wild ball snorkel as well, which are very unique, and they sort of hug in there, but unfortunately it didn't work with this hood. So I've gone to a different snorkel. These are a couple of inches taller. You can see how it's basically at the height of the guard here. Any of you guys that know your Jeeps know that there's normally a solid gap here, so they kind of look factory, obviously other than the Raptor coat, but they sit a whole lot higher, so it gives you a whole lot more clearance. This is only sort of 2.5 inch lift, but it looks like it's a lot more until you stand next to the Jeep, so lots more clearance for your flex. But more importantly as well, it sticks out an extra 50 mil, so you get your really good coverage for the tyres and what have you, so you're staying nice and legal. As we walk down the side of the Jeep on the driver's side, got these Atlas side steps, and I've got some of those on both doors, so it gives you a really good platform to stand on to get up to the roof rack. The other really cool thing about these is they have a built-in bottle opener down the bottom here, which is, you know, always important things. So they're pretty cool. Went back to factory side steps, mainly for weight. Had some big sliders on there, but I just found they literally never got hit. And the type of driving I did, I'm sure if I was doing proper crazy rock stuff, you know, it's an easy upgrade. But for the moment, some nice new factory steps. And then wrapping up around the side is a 3 meter by 2.5 meter awning. Comes out nicely when you're at the beach, nice and quick to set up. And then finally, a little while ago, I had the hard top color coded and wrapped aligned to kind of go with the rest of the Jeep. Let's head around to the back of the outside. We've got the TerraFlex Transit mud flaps, I believe they're called. These things are awesome, and surprisingly so. One of the other requirements in the lovely state of Queensland is that, once again, from the rear your tyres are covered, so not just your poke has to be nice and covered, but then also the mud flaps, and they have to be sort of 300 mil most from the ground and blah blah blah. So good thing about these is they're absolutely perfect for maintaining the Jeep's legal standing, I guess. But they're also cool because if you haven't seen these, they've got a little mount under here. Hopefully you can see that just in here. And then basically all you do is you just wind these suckers out like that, and then they just come straight out. So what I do whenever I go up the beach is just wind these guys out, chuck them in the Jeep or in the back of the Jeep. You're never going to rip them off or anything like that when you're hitting the trails, and then boom, you've got plenty of clearance at the back. So big fan of those. We've got some LED tail lights there. We have a steel SRC rear bar here. It's had some sort of custom work done on it. Originally had a swing away, but that got all taken off when I upgraded to the TerraFlex HD bracket. This thing is awesome, and if you've seen these are just sensational. They do have all the mounts that you can mount a sort of a bracket here that you can put your high lift on and what have you. So it has all the mounting points that you need. You just need the bracket from TerraFlex if that was your jam and you were keen to carry the high lift, etc. It's all set up ready to go for that. Got some LEDs in the corners for your reversing, give you a bit more light. In the rear I've got a different bracket set up on the back here, so the brake light's nice and high, and also the reversing camera sits in there as well. Other than that, around the back, recovery hitch, pretty standard affair. Obviously number plate fits in there. Around the side we have probably more of the same, nothing too crazy around here. More of the steps. Have a pretty solid GME. This guy's I think it's a 4.5 dBi antenna, but pretty awesome out of the way there on a spring mount. And that's about it for the walk around on the external. Just to wrap up the external, we'll just have a quick look at the roof rack. Now the roof rack is a full steel rack with a alloy flat platform on the top, put together by a Boilermaker friend of mine, kind of similar to a Gobi expedition style rack. Full steel, nice gusseted joints all the way around, and then we've got massive thick plates here that form the front brackets that connect everything together. So it is as solid as, I've had a couple hundred kilos of timber and what have you up there, and it is solid as a rock. Comes in nice underneath. It's also made so that you can basically undo the front section here, these bolts in here, then the whole lot will flip back and over. So if you want to change out the hard top to the soft tops that I've got for this, I've actually got two soft tops. One of them's the standard sport style, but then it's also got a Rubicon soft top, which is the twill. It's a much better material, much more high end, so that comes with this as well. Only used sort of a handful of times, but if you want to put that on, you'd basically pivot this whole thing up and over. Disconnects on the solar panel, etc., so you can easily get to everything underneath. And if we suss out the top of the rack, we'll get our little step down here. There we go. So it has a full alloy platform at the top. This is pretty cool. It's one of the Titan racks, so it's got your galvanized. I've got my weak hands. I need to undo that. It's got all the eyelets, and they're those swivel connectors. So I've got a whole bunch of those. That over the back there is a gas bottle holder, so I've got the right straps for that. So basically it's a little mounting spot. You can fit up to a 9 kilo gas bottle there. This big sucker here is a 160 watt panel, and that's permanently connected. I've seen up to about 150 watts out of this, and I'll show you in the app and the dual battery when we do the interior, but that's just permanently mounted, works a treat. I've got a big 65 litre Waco inside, and we've had this sort of up the beach. I never even bother about it, so much so when we check out the engine bay, I do have a second battery isolator charger, and all the wiring is there to be able to connect it to the dual battery, which we'll check out when we look at the rear. But so much so I've disconnected it. So if you wanted to, the wire is literally there in the engine bay. We'll suss it out when we look at the engine bay. But I haven't needed to. That panel, certainly in Queensland, has more than enough sun to keep the dual battery running like a top, which has been awesome. Now the tyre choice that I've gone with and settled on for the Jeep is the Maxxis Razor MT. So it's a mud terrain tyre, stacks and stacks of tread. These have probably only done maybe 5,000 Ks, so they're still very new. We've still got the little hairs, as you can see. I had a sort of a whole range of different tyres on here over the years. Some BF Goodrich muddies, some Bighorns. I had some Bighorn 35s for ages. Went to an AT that was a super regret because it made the thing look like it had skipped leg days. It was shocking. So I finally was like, okay, I need to get something that, one, is legal, because in Queensland you can only go 2 inches larger. So with the 2-inch-ish lift, and these are a legal size. So yeah, so these are equivalent to a 34-inch. They're a 305 70/17 on obviously a 17-inch rim. These are a Dyneema 17-inch D pattern rim. I was keen to get the steel just for a little bit extra durability off-road and a bit more flex. If you're bending stuff or anything like that, you can whack it back into shape. And the tyres themselves, like I said, super chunky, plenty of tread, all rotated, even though I think I've only done that once because I've, like I said, only been a couple of thousand Ks. These are really quiet, and on the new project that's coming, I'm definitely going the Maxxis again, the Razors. Probably going to give the ATs a bit of a try, but super happy with these. I think they're a great tyre from what I've seen. Reports of 50,000 Ks getting out of them, which is pretty handy and super awesome when you get into the tough stuff. Bagging them down, I find sort of 15 pound, they bag out really well on the sand, and this thing just floats on top of the sand on the beach and that sort of stuff. So pretty happy with those. So other than that, I think that's about everything around the exterior of the Jeep. I don't think I've different windscreen wipers, but you know, that's sort of standard stuff. I think that's about it. So I reckon next up, we'll sort of do all the outside stuff first. So I reckon next, let's get to the meat and potatoes of the suspension underneath the Jeep. So underneath the Jeep, and you can see here's the steel bash guard that goes all the way to that channel. So it's got your radiator and that sort of stuff nice and covered. You can see that pretty much everything under here has been upgraded, and my sort of plan was to have a nice and sort of decent setup under here without going completely OT with, you know, full aftermarket diffs and all sorts of crazy. I didn't want anything too tall, but something that was strong and was capable. So to step through everything, I have got a video of most of this. You can check at the top there there was a geometry video I did that talked through all the different parts and what they do. So this will be a little bit quicker, but you can suss that video out if you want a little bit more detail. You can see underneath here we have basically a fully refurbished front diff. Well, I mean, you can't really see that, but I'll let you know, because the first one was kind of bent like a banana. It was curved in that way to the point where you couldn't see through the channel. So got a nice decent factory one that was straight as an arrow, all American wheeling, bunch of legends that they are, fully redid the centers with some nice new centers and what have you. So new seals, the whole sort of box and dice on a Terraflex aftermarket diff hat. So that is all perfect, 0 leaks, which is awesome. We have a lot of Synergy gear under here. So Synergy tie rod, Synergy drag link. We've got Synergy correction brackets there. Up the back here is a Terraflex Monster heavy duty track bar. That's made a massive difference. As well as that, in the side here we've got the Synergy brace setup for the pitman arm and the whole sort of steering box. That mod there, just by the by, if you're a Jeeper and you haven't done that and you're running bigger than factory tires, I absolutely recommend that. I did some testing before. We're kind of a little bit off topic, sorry guys, but I did some testing where if you get underneath and you really go hard on moving the wheel from side to side and you got sort of 35s or something on, you could see the flex in the standard brace. As soon as I put that on there, the steering felt tighter immediately without doing anything else. So it's a fairly cheap mod. I actually did a video on how to install it. You can suss it up in the top here. but it's totally recommended. So anyway, moving on. This actually is it's a turbo diesel, like I'd said, but it came with an off-road pack. So what that means is there was only a couple of years, I think it was 08 and 09 in Australia, that it had some of the Rubicon gear on it because you couldn't get a Rubicon turbo diesel. I know the guys in Europe, they got a full turbo diesel Rubicon, but unfortunately we didn't. But we did have an off-road pack, which is an option, which is what this is. So what that meant is you get the rear locker. So this has got the full D44 Rubicon rear locker. You got the sway bar disconnect, and a couple other things. They were sort of the main two things. Now you're probably going, Adam, what the hell are you talking about? Because this guy here is not a disconnect. For those that know about that, there's normally a big box sort of here-ish, and that's where you press the button in the cab, the sway bar disconnects. It flogged out just like every other one that I've ever heard of. Mine lasted up until about 6 months ago, but finally the gears inside it totally disintegrated. So we have a factory sway bar with some JKS quick disconnects, so just the standard pin set up there to remove those. What else have we got under here? Fox ATS dampener. I've had this guy on there for years, still works like a top. You got, I think it's 22 points of adjustment in there. I've just got that sort of in the middle of the road. The thing works really well, pretty happy with it. All the tie rod ends and boots are all tickety boo. Recently replaced all the boots with their newer, they're heavy duty rubber, so they've been great. So I did all of that. And then even things like this for the tie rod ends for the Synergies, they have an alignment, so that bushing there stops it from sort of rocking like this. So I've got those in there. So everything on the front end is tickety boo. Really happy with it. You can see that we've got really good angles, so you're not getting any bumps here or anything like that. Arms, forgot to talk about the arms. We've got a fixed length Synergy on the bottom, and those guys are set up so that it's going to give the right amount of caster. And then we've got the fully adjustable, I don't know if you can see that in there, the fully adjustable Synergy upper arms in there as well. So adjustability is spot on, and she drives better than factory. Really happy with where I've landed. Took a lot. This is probably where the YouTube started, to be honest, installing some of this stuff and learning about all this stuff, because it is there's a lot of linkages going on, and you know, death wobble and all that sort of stuff is pretty a pretty hot topic with anything to do with Jeep. But I'm pretty stoked with where it's landed and just how tight it all sort of feels for a lifted 5-link type setup. So that's everything on the front. Now under here we also, from a spring point of view, have got TerraFlex items. So these are the Outback coils, front and rear. I think technically they're a 3-inch lift, but you're probably looking more of a 2 with everything that's going on. You also have the TerraFlex bump stops. They're speed bumps, front and rear. And then for a shock scenario, we have the new Falcon 2.1s. Didn't really see any need for the sort of the remote reservoirs for my build. So these are the 2.1s. Absolutely awesome. This is probably about the 4th different type of shock I've had. These are heavy duty as. You can see the girth in the shock. And the shafts as well, comparing to some other brands. So have been super happy with those. So that's the shocks and springs. So if we head around to the rear, you'll see here's our Falcon rear shockies. In the back there we have our speed bumps in here as well, and our TerraFlex Outback coils. For our TerraFlex diff hat there as well, same as the front, nice and sturdy. Standard sort of track bar there, but has the Synergy mounting system so that we're getting our alignment all back to the way it should be. Do have our big storage tub. This is a unique item here and replaces that monster. We've got our exhaust extended here, so it's still all nice and legal, but used all this space for this unique storage box here, and we'll have a look at that when we get to the inside there, but basically that gives us stacks of room so we can install a full dual battery and a nice big storage tub in there as well. So solid unit, all nice and installed. And that's about it for underneath the rear, and that kind of concludes our suspension wrap. So I reckon next up we can probably get stuck into having a quick look at the engine bay, and then once we've had a look at the engine bay, we'll finish up by going through the interior. So let's have a look at what's under the hood. So under the hood, now I have to sort of warn you, this is the cleanest this engine bay's ever been. Spent a whole bunch of time on it, so she's looking sparkly and new. It doesn't always look like this, and if you've been off-road, you'll know exactly that. I am going to get a new battery, so if you're in this for the sale ad, this battery has been alive for about 8 years, and it's finally coming. It still runs and everything, it's no problem. It's just I have noticed that the crank's slowly starting to get a little bit longer, and every time I test this, it's getting low on voltage, even just sitting there overnight. So it does start and runs and everything fine, but it just doesn't crank as well as I'd like. And I got it tested from what do they call them, the crank tests, and it's only at about 60% capacity. So I'm going to replace that guy with a nice new battery. Other than that, underneath here, look, from an engine point of view, I've had a bunch of upgrades, things, not so power upgrades, but more reliability. So things like the heating and overheating side of things hasn't sort of been an issue on this, but it's kind of what started me on the journey of when you're really pushing these things, the turbo diesel, you really got to make sure that the thing breathes, and as soon as you work that out, that seems to solve. You can get on all the forums, and people will talk about these things getting hot and running hot and all that sort of stuff, but from what I've found is once you get the thing to breathe fairly well, you never have a problem. And like I said, for me, this thing is just a toy, so I don't daily it, but I wanted it so that it wouldn't even get sort of to that 100-degree mark, even if I was towing up big hills, on the soft sand, all of that sort of stuff. And this thing's been tickety-boo for a number of years now since I've done those mods. So what have I done? So upgrading the clutch fan to an aftermarket heavy duty. There's a video on how to do that up the top there as well if you're interested. I've found that I've only just recently, just for an experiment more than anything, using some Amazon credits, went back to a heavy duty clutch fan over fan clutch over a severe duty. Originally had a severe duty as the mod. That is much more aggressive in its cooling, and that by itself made a massive difference. I've got live temps, as you'll see later on, through an OBD sensor and torque. You'll see that when we do the interior. I actually went back to the heavy duty because I found the mileage seemed to suffer, and I found by putting the heavy duty on, I knocked about 1 to 2 litres per 100. As in improved it. So I definitely recommend, if you're gonna look to increase your cooling capacity of your Jeep, consider going to a heavy duty first and seeing how that goes, rather than going straight to a severe duty, so that it's not running as frequently and extra load on the engine. What else we got? Obviously snorkel. We've got a ProVent 200. I've plumbed this in the right way. Some people will not actually put that back in through the intake. That makes a massive difference. It's all in a genuine one, so none of those crappy sort of copies that don't vent properly. That just runs straight underneath, and there's a little tap underneath so you can drain it out for every service. This thing gets a full oil and filter change every 5,000 Ks. Using Nulon's full synthetic 1040. Other than that, that's been in there since about 100,000 Ks, which is when I had the vehicle. It's done about 190 now. Full injector change and recoding, all that sort of stuff. You can see that was one of my first videos actually on how to do that. You can suss it out up the top, but that's all been done. So those injectors are probably the first set of injectors for these, the factory ones, failed at about 150,000, so they've done about 40,000 Ks, so stacks of life left. It was actually only one of them that failed, but I replaced all of them, and I actually still have all of them. So I've actually got 5 spare injectors for it. They're second hand, but well, like I said, only one of the 4 failed. The others obviously had the same mileage, but we're still coming up to spec fine, so they're just an extra. I just keep them with me in the back of the Jeep, in behind the taillight actually, when I go on a big trip, just as an absolute backup. So if anything happens with them, you know, you've got something to get you out of trouble. Other than that, all of this has been updated and cleaned up. We've got the full Samco silicon hose upgrade on both sides of the intercooler. We've got another Samco, I don't know if you can see that, underneath is the elbow into the turbo. So that's all the full silicon as well. So everything hunky-dory there. Fan shroud mod to make all that nice and tight. This is the VSR, voltage sensitive relay. That's for the dual battery. So like I said, that little guy there, it's not live or anything. That's just the cable rather than pull it all out. That runs straight through to the rear battery down the end there that we'll have a look at in a sec. So if you need any sort of like if you needed that in there, you could. Like I said, I actually disconnected that because just didn't need it, and also just didn't want to put extra load on the you know, the alternator and through this battery, all of that sort of stuff. So I guess you've got the option. It would literally just be a matter of pulling this out and reconnecting it, and you'd have that full dual battery. Like I said, the solar that's running into there, I never have an issue. I've never had it come anywhere near flat, even when camping for a few days. So that's there anyway if you need it. Tried to tidy all this up. This will probably look a little bit different if you are here for the sale vid, because as soon as I get this new battery, which is on its way now, as soon as that arrives, I'm going to sort of give this a little bit of a clean. It looks a bit dirty at the moment, just because that battery's so old now. What else? So yeah, so this is just for just a little bit easier for the fuses and what have you, for the different accessories, the subwoofer that's inside, you know, the UHF radio, all that sort of stuff. But other than that, pretty standard. That's about it. That's about it for the engine bay. Things like sensors. We've got a new map sensor a few months ago. Put a new one of those in. The old one was starting to play up a little bit, so that's all nice and new. Aftermarket auto transmission cooler. So this is the second or third one that I've been sort of going through. Did a full video on installing this guy as well. Suss out the top, you know the drill. This is a super cooler, and I can't speak highly enough. The new project that's coming to the channel, it's going to be one of the first mods I do. That has made such a difference to the cooling, because it's an auto. When on the beach in the really soft stuff, with that torque converter not being locked up, you can see on the live temps just how quickly those temps rise. That made an enormous difference straight away. You're still not going to get out of jail if you're flogging up in the soft stuff in high range. The torque converter just makes way too much heat. But I just noticed, especially towing up really big hills, for example, with the camper, that just made an enormous difference. So that's all plumbed in. You can see all the details in the video if you want some more info on that, but that little cooler is amazing. Other than that, that's about it for the engine and mechanicals. So let's move on now, I think, to the rear. We'll check out the dual battery, what's going on there, and then finish up in the interior. All right, the rear of the beast. This is actually quite an interesting experience doing this. It's actually a little emotional. I'm sort of as I'm going through this. Anyway. Front runner rear table, definitely recommended. Adjusted it so we've got a little. Basically, how you do it, you just drop that off, little pin like that. Put him aside, and she folds down straight like that. Chopping board off the side, but it's tip top, because normally I do the chopping for food and what have you there. Stove goes on there, like we were saying before. Pretty well, perfect little setup. You have your hooks over here for your utensils. I normally put garbage bag. Fridge in the side here. I'm a big fan. It's taken me a lot. It's simple sort of setup. I know some people will have, you know, super crazy type setups, but you know, for the trips up the beach, you know, the solo camping or camping just me without, you know, wife and kids and what have you in tow, just with the boys, this is tip top. Big fan of how it's all worked out, and definitely going to be looking for something similar in the new project. So to step through that, first thing, yep, front runner table in here. Now I was a big fan of getting a sort of a setup in here that wasn't a drawer type setup, and I had drawers in here originally and they just weigh a lot and take up space, and it was difficult to kind of get it all working. So this is about the third or fourth iteration to what I wanted to be put in here. So yeah, so after a few different versions and iterations, this is where I landed. So I was pretty inspired by the Goose Gear setup. I don't know if you've seen that, but this is kind of loosely based off that, because I really liked the functionality, how everything was kind of modular and had some nice storage cubbies, and it just seemed to make the most sense to me as far as getting the most in the spacings and what have you. Now, unfortunately, Goose Gear is US based, and there's just no way that I could have got it out here for, you know, anything remotely cost effective. So I've got this one made up and kind of just to my requirements. So I'll step you through it. Basically, we've got a fully wrapped aligned base and then these side cubbies as well, and full mount and quick release for fire extinguisher, that sort of stuff, and everything's all stainless. And in the sides here, we've got these big storage bins that I keep all sorts of stuff. One side sort of all cooking stuff and, you know, camp knife and everything you need for that sort of general stuff. And then nice little lock, they're all lockable as well if you've got the soft top on, and everything sort of, this goes all the way back to down here and makes the most of the use of the curved space. So I was really pumped with the way that these came out. Same on this side, extra connector up here for the fridge itself. The fridge that I've been using is the Waco CFX 65 for the sales guys that are here for looking to buy. The fridge doesn't come with it, sorry guys, but it is set up so that your weapon of choice will fit in here. On the slide, let's see if I can do this sort of one-handed. There we go. So that all just comes out, and then you've got full access, you know, to your fridge, and is nice and set up, running off the dual battery inside there as well. I'll just see if we can put this guy back in. There we go, nice and easy. So that's all running off the dual battery like I was mentioning. The other kind of cool thing I've got sitting off these drawers, I can show you if we go around this way, because as you know with the JKs, if you've had them before or you know about them, there's no charging in the back here. So what I did is we've just got these extra charging ports here. They're another unit, so you've got a cigarette lighter there, but then also the standard sort of dual USB sockets. So they're all hard mounted and ready to rock and roll. If you've got kids or anything in the background, you want to charge camera gear or anything like that, like me, you've got all that set up ready to go. So that's all pretty straightforward. Same story on the other side. So if you pull these to be able to access, so that all still works fine. You just got to take this little cubby out, and these still fold flat as normal. Tie down points and everything is still there for the fridge, and then you've got sort of the end panel for the cubby that's nice and contoured to the carpet and what have you itself, so that there's nothing coming out of them, and it's all nice and solid because it is wrapped aligned. You've got that real waterproof and super hardy coating, so it will stand the test of time. So I'll put that back in place. Same story, this side here will fold down. It's a 70-30 split setup in the Jeep, so you can kind of fold all this fully flat, but then also take the fridge out for maximum size if you want. And that's kind of what I was going for, because I still wanted to be able to carry stuff. So with these with these rear seats fully folded down and the fridge out, you still have sort of a really good amount of storage all the way to the front seats if you really want to carry a bigger load. Other than that, we have these cargo bags that are from X-Cargo, really great. So you may have seen those with the fronts, and I've tried those, but I just found they didn't work very well. They interfere with your seat belts. Access from the side's a bit of a pain, and I kind of wanted this area nice and free as well. Wanted a really nice sturdy mount for the fire extinguisher on the quick mount and what have you. but then also, you know, a nice spot to get to the cubbies and easily accessible from either in from the back that way or from here. If you're cooking up a storm, doing some camping, that sort of deal, you can easily get into here to get all the bits and bobs that you need. So these have been great. They're, you know, plenty of space in there. You know, I've got you know, sunscreen, coffee and all sorts of stuff in there, but they're a great bag and are permanently affixed on the back of the roll bar. Up here as well is just some cargo netting. I normally put some fold-up tables and that sort of stuff in there. Anything you kind of want up out of the way, sleeping bag, that sort of jazz. And then this side here is a perfect width for if you're in Australia, Bunnings set up where they have a number of different storage crates that are perfect in here, and you can fit 4 of them stacked up nice and neat, and they're firm in here as well, so no even need to tie them down. I do have built into here these individual tie down points, so these are actually hard mounted screw holes, and I've got them every little which way, because originally I was intending to put some extra tie down points, but I just found this, it seems to be a bit of a standard side, and I totally fluked it, but it worked out really well because the tubs sit sort of nice and not too hard, but hard enough that they don't really get out of control, and you can easily sort of slide them in and out of there. Like I said, I've got 4 of the cube ones, so you can literally put 4 and they come up to about here, and it just works really well. Grill down the side, it works really well. Other than that, normal sort of storage tub in here, there originally is a sort of a cover there, but I ripped all that out because I wanted to easily be able to get into here. I just keep some recovery stuff, the tent poles, sand pegs, that sort of jazz. There's plenty of room there. And then under here, so this is for the dual batteries. So under here, this is that big storage tub we were looking at there before, and you can see that's how tall that is. You know, I don't know if you get the idea, but plenty of space for a big bottle jack. I just keep jumper leads, that sort of stuff in there. And then if you can see in there, there's our second battery. So that's a 100 amp hour battery. We've got our fuses in there that you can get to underneath, and the fuses are effectively just for these up here. So I wanted some good power options when you're, you know, set up like this. So just literally as I'm doing right here, phone was getting flat from taking some pickies, and so it's easy to just, I keep power cables in there, rip one of those out, plug him in, flick the switch. I've got it switched independently, and that's all running off the second battery underneath here. There's a Victron charger unit there as well for the solar for that 100 amp hour battery. I'll just show you. I'm not sure if you've seen how cool that software is, but basically there's an app that's all Bluetoothable as well, so you can easily see at touch of a few buttons what's going on with your charge. We'll see what's happening right now. It's a pretty sort of sunny day. Here we go. So at the moment it's already at 13.7 amps, 13.7 volts at the battery itself. We're getting 3 amps in from the battery at the moment. It's in float mode, so it's not at full tilt. 53 watts to keep it in float. I am actually doing a full video on a Victron solar controller, but the full version, the big shunt version, so that may be out by the time this video. I'm not sure, probably not, but anyway, that'll be coming on the channel soon. If you're interested in that, hit the old subscribe button, you know the drill. But yeah, 50, that's probably because the fridge is cycling. Yep. So anyway, it's pretty cool. That plus this here just seems to work really well. I just never had, it's been a set and forget. I haven't had to sort of play with it. You can get in as well, and it shows you the history. You can see where I've had it parked in the garage where there's 0 output, not much sun going on in the garage. Most of the time, there you go, 8 watts for the whole day. It's basically just sits on float unless I'm using. I'll try and find. Here we go. So this is a beach trip with the fridge and freeze mode. So there we go. We're getting sort of 125 watts by the looks of things. 5, you know, blah blah blah. Anyway, you can see kind of how all that works. So so that's that. There's a good sort of amount of storage here for, like I said, whatever you want to keep in there. I just keep jumpers and somewhere for the big bottle jack and that sort of stuff. And it's all nice and sort of under the floor and watertight and kept under the way. So that is probably it for the rear. I'm really happy with the way that works, and you know, if you end up wanting to do something for, you know, your camping and that sort of gear, I found this setup to be nice and simple, and pretty bomb-proof with the Raptor and all that stuff. Easy to keep clean, and you know, all that sort of stuff. All right, we're pretty much done. I think the only other thing to do is just to suss out the interior. So let's go and have a look at that now. So if we suss out the inside, few things done. So we'll start with, I guess, the driver's seat. Got a bit of a bad back from a car accident a few years ago, so I wanted something with adjustable lumbar type support, and that sort of jazz. So put a aftermarket sort of four-wheel drive leather jobby in here, full ADR approved. If you are looking for the sale side of the vid, I do have the original seat as well, which you know, you may or may not need to put in depending on who you go through. Super comfy though. Other than that, some big sand grabber mats. I've only just recently actually put these in, but I wanted to get some that would really come up on the sides, so sand and stuff gets caught nice and easily. OBD port there that powers the live temps and that sort of stuff, which we'll have a look at in a sec. This was pretty cool. Just a little solar powered torch that's you know, all mounted in there nice and easily. Rugged Ridge storage unit up the top here. That's been a bit of a game changer for me. Something so simple, but just giving you storage room has been awesome. Upgraded to the newer model mirror because the old one of mine started sort of getting smutchy in the mirror side of things. So got the nice new one in there. Other than that, we have a few other things. Let's just jump in. So we have our switch mounts here, and this runs all the switches as well. These are the main two guys here, and they're all routed in properly to your high beams. Other than that, we've got these awesome hard-mounted anodized, like billet aluminium grab handles. They work an absolute treat, and they're solid as. They're from a company called Carolina Metal Masters from Carolina. Shout out, guys, good stuff. Ram mounts, the cool thing about them is they have the ball mount, which sort of sits in there, and that allows you ram mount, so you can easily chuck your phone in there, up out of the way, so it's not affecting your visibility. USB ports here as well. I'm just going to actually start the car so I can get some AC going, because it's hot as Hades in here. So yeah, the USB ports here as well, and I've just got a little short cable, so the idea is put your phone in there, plug him in, and she's charging all nice and good. Still got a nice grab handle, so pretty nice place to be. We've got the iDrive unit here. My sort of default is the U5, and that seems to work just about right. Gives you a bit more throttle response, which is pretty cool. What else we got? GME radio down the bottom here. Got the speakers out, so it's pretty cool. We've got our brake controller here. That's all wired up. Through the center here, we've got our this is pretty cool. This is the standard mod, so it's sort of an off-road mod. So as soon as you hit it, it automatically turns off all our ABS, our traction control, ESP, the BAS, all that sort of stuff gets switched off with a button. Because with the Jeeps, even if you hit, that's probably really loud on the noise. I might just turn that off for you so you're not getting blasted by cold air. Even if you hit this button here, which is your traction control button, it doesn't fully turn everything off. So it's a pretty common little mod to chuck the little switch in, and that'll automatically turn everything off. And then the idea is, once you've sort of had your fun on the beach, for example, you flick it back to everything back on, but everything turned back on, hence the light. And then as soon as you sort of power cycle the Jeep, so say you've got to where you're going, you want to go for another drive, you turn that back on so that you want everything on, start it up, and and everything's off again, like everything's working again. All your traction control, everything's working. So cool, cool little mod. Then we've got, this was the, like I was saying before, this is kind of the diesel Rubicon, or as close to it as possible, I guess, for Australia, as far as sway bar disconnect button, which is currently all snipped off underneath. So if you wanted to wire another one in there, it's all there to do it. It would just be colours for colours on the wiring loom that's sitting there underneath, ready to do your rear locker. So that's pretty rad. And then, you know, your standard headlight adjustment, that sort of stuff with your headlights on, and ESP. Standard sort of gear, aftermarket head unit. This thing's been one of my favourite mods, actually. Something so sort of simple, but it's been cool because it runs a full Android operating system, so you can kind of get on Play Store and download or whatever you want. I have used I've got a, yes, somewhere, here we go. I have one of the AV ProCal modules, and this comes with the Jeep. It's coded to the Jeep, so it comes with, and you can change all sorts of stuff. One of which is when you put bigger tyres on, you can sort of update the ECU of the Jeep to what you've changed it to. So I've done all of that, so the speedo is actually correct, but you just get an extra sort of GPS speed there as well. Outside of that, like I said, a bit of a sucker for anything billet aluminium, so I've just got the combo of the aftermarket gear knob for the stubby lever for your full drive, and then also the handbrake. Radio here on the side, nice new unit there. That's probably about it. Extra little mounting points here for RAM accessories, so you can put GoPro out the front here on a mount. That's all pretty cool. Underneath here as well, actually, I've got these, I can't remember who makes that, I'll put that in the description, but this is basically a lock box that is fully key lockable. I'll show you on the spare key here, if I can get in there. Oh yeah, here we go. So yeah, so that's, you can put whatever you want in there. I use that if I'm at the beach and I've got the soft top on or something like that. It's just a nice secure place. You can chuck your keys, maybe not the Jeep key obviously, but you can chuck any other keys, your wallet, your phone, all that sort of jazz in there. Lock it up, and then other than people are not really going to see it, there's no way that's coming out of that. That's all a full steel little mini safe. So that's been pretty cool as well. That's probably about it for the inside of the Jeep. On the back, that's pretty sort of standard. We do have the wild boar grab handles there that are a steel grab handle for the peeps in the back. Extra storage tub here, as you can see, so just a big bin here, and then you've actually got a couple of cup holders there. I find that has been a great little addition. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty well the interior. Well, there we have it. That's all she wrote. I hope I've included everything. Apologies if I haven't. I'll leave some little call outs on the video if I've forgotten any of the parts. If you have any other questions with the beast, leave it in the comments below and I'll come straight back to you. That's the full walk around of the Project JK that I've been working on for the last 7 or 8 years, and it is super sad to see the conclusion of this story. I hope it goes to a good home, someone who's going to use it for what the thing's been built for, and continue the journey of the beast. Big fan of the Jeep, and everything I've been able to do with it, and hopefully it goes to a good home. If you enjoyed the walk around, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've made it this far, I've got no idea how long this video has been. We'll see when I get to the editing, but I feel like it's going to be a super long one. So if you've stuck with it, thank you very much for checking out the rig. Leave me a comment in the section below. Be gentle, but let me know what you reckon. Feel free to ask any questions. I've had the thing for about 80,000 Ks and been building over time. So if you do have any questions or anything like that, me as always, I'll come back and try and respond to you as quickly and as honestly as possible. So if you do any questions or anything like that, chuck them in the comments below, and I'll come back to you, and we can go from there. Now guys, if you're here because you're interested in buying the beast, in buying the Jeep, awesome, that's cool. Get in touch through YouTube, through the socials, Instagram, or on the email. That all the details will be in the description below. So send me a quick DM and let me know if you're interested. I'm going to price this without any COVID tax or anything like that. I'm pretty keen for it to go to a good home and not charge silly prices. I've got sort of in a position where I need to move on to this other project, so I'm going to put a little bit of a slightly silly price. Just want to have a nice, easy transaction where someone can pick it up for a good price and get out and enjoy it like I have. So that's it, guys. I hope that you found this helpful in some ways, as always. If anything, hopefully it gives you some insight on the different bits and bobs that have gone into the build. If you like this sort of content, or if you want us to support the channel, of course, usual stuff, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, that sort of jazz. But other than that, guys, as always, I hope that you have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.